Okay, so in 2010, I was living in San Francisco, and on one Saturday night, I believe it was May, I was having an argument with my boyfriend. I forget what we were talking about, but it ended with me saying, look, if you're not into this, don't string me along. That's not fair, I don't deserve it. Be the bigger person and just cut me loose. So we went to sleep, and in the morning he made me scrambled eggs with spinach, and it was very good. And as I was eating, he broke up with me. And I thought, well, that was fast. And then I asked a few questions, mostly because I was stalling so I could finish my eggs. And then I don't remember what the questions were or what I said because I stormed out and ran home, started to cry, called my mom because it was Mother's Day. Right? And then she said, how are you doing? And that just opened the floodgates, and I'm standing on the corner of Mission and 4th, twisting my body around to see if anyone's looking at me bawling in the middle of the street. And then by the time I got home, I had calmed down, and I decided I need some answers. This didn't last very long. So I don't know what got into my head, but I thought, wait. So I decided I needed to get some information. And by the end of that night, I got that information. But before I tell you that, we need to do a quick sidebar. And before I met James, that was his name. Sorry, I'm very nervous. I'm starting to forget things. So before I met him, my depression was increasing, and my thoughts of suicide were getting stronger, and a friend of mine told me, I think you need to start seeing a therapist. And I put it off for a while, and then when I met him, I told him all this because we were dating and I was opening up. And he said, oh, I think I know a guy. Now, come back to all the information I found. I must also preface that technically, I did not hack into his email. I had the password. I mean, it was his Wi-Fi password, and I guess it was the same, so that's not really hacking, it's logging in. And I got lucky. So I read everything. And he was talking to all these different people, including the therapist he recommended to me. And there were dick pics and plannings and sexual favors and mocking the poetry I had written for James. And I was like, what in the mother? Oh, it was really upsetting. And then I didn't know what to do at the time. I said, let me just sit on this for a minute. And I read everything, and I'm texting my friends. And then 2 days later, I thought, I can put this on my phone, can't I? So James and I were still trying to play friends because it was still such a short relationship. So I put his email on my phone, and I found that there was a trick that you can increase the vision, like the preview, to 5 lines, because he was using email the way people use text messages now. Remember that like transition period where people were migrating from email to text? He was still on the email. So by increasing it to 5 lines, I could see what the email was saying without having to open it, so he never knew I was reading it. Although sometimes I did screw up. And I would say, oh wait, mark unread. Hope he didn't see that. And then it got confusing too when I would email him and then I would get an alert on my phone saying that an email came through, and I would, oh wait, that's me. It got a little dicey. This went on for about 3 weeks, and I used it to fact check his life. I would say, hey, why don't we go to a movie tonight? And he said, oh, I can't, I have a birthday party. I'm like, okay, let's check the email. And on the email, he was texting the therapist, and they wanted to have sex in a public place and do all these other sorts of weird, bizarre things. And I was like, a birthday party? And I was like, he did happen to have a lot of birthday parties in the middle of the week when we were dating. So that, basically, I got all my answers to every question I ever wanted. After about 2.5 weeks, it kind of lost its luster, and I went to his apartment. We had planned to have dinner that night, and I basically told him everything I did. And he said, there was a moment where I saw my messages being read and unread, and I didn't know what was happening. And then when I explained everything, he kind of thought I had something to do with it. And I said, well, if you knew something was up, why didn't you change the password and block me out? He had so little care for himself and for me that it didn't really matter to him. So that was the last time I ever spoke to him. And then for the purpose of this story, I unblocked him on Facebook to see, I wonder what he's doing now. Let's see how his life failed miserably. It didn't. He moved to New York. He found some other guy to dupe into loving him, and now they're living a blissful life with 2 dogs, and maybe they'll adopt kids one day. So I was like, that ugly little bitch. How does someone so mean and so ruthless, who cheated on me with the therapist he recommended when I was thinking about killing myself, how does someone like that get what he wants out of life? So I was like, there is no moral to this story. I was basically unblocking him to find an ending. There's no fucking ending. Just do whatever you want, screw people over, be a dick, you'll get anything you want out of life. And that was how the relationship ended.